WCEG Media Enterprises. We are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. You can log on to us at WCEGTalkRadio.com or you can watch us on one of your smart devices, smart TV, Roku, cable channel, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now on Fanbase, Blue Sky, and Twitch. You can also search for WCEG and subscribe, like, connect, and follow us on all social media platforms. I'm Ernestine Pittman, your host for today. Welcome to Take a Stand for the next hour. This is going to be directly, mainly to East Point residents, but anyone listening should take heed because wherever you are, your government, local, state, or national, are making budgets. The one that's closest to you that you should be able to have the most influence on is your local government. Your local government's vision for the future, the present, and the future should be yours, the people who live in that municipality. Here in East Point, there is no clear vision for the present nor the future. Hence, the budget reflects a hodgepodge of this and that, whoever likes what, rather than following a planned outline. No one expects or should expect everything in the budget to go as it is written. You may start a project in 25 and it's not concluded until 28 because you did not have everything in place in order to complete it in the time frame you designated, especially if it involves construction. Our budget here in East Point, the budget process, is dependent upon several things. So let's begin with the most basic. In order to have a city, we have to have a charter and we have to have elected officials. Now, how do these elected officials interact with our budget? Well, according to the state tells local government officials what must be done in order for them to be paid a salary. No salary increase can occur in a non election year. It has to be in an election year. That is by the state. It has to be published in your public media article that is an organ that is voted on by council in January of every year. So it cannot be done in secret. The salaries that the mayor and council was paid last year must be the salary and this year. No increases, no decreases, period. It must be the same. Now, the state also says that every elected official must be compensated for anything that they do in order to carry out their duties and responsibility for the job that they were elected to do. Now, some on a council will take that to mean I need to go on a vacation because this job is getting next to me, and in order to do a better job, I need rest. Won't work, throw it out. Going on a vacation has nothing to do with the duties and responsibility of governing here in East Point. Our charter is very clear. If you are an elected official, the city will pay up front or reimburse you. for any education that you may go out and get, or training, provided that you go to Georgia Municipal Association. Georgia Municipal Association is an organization that represents cities, governments all across Georgia. They keep those municipal governments and the others informed of any change in Georgia law that may affect them so that they do not run afoul of the law and violate it. GMA also lobbies for all the cities it represents. We are a member of GMA. Our charter says East Point must be a member of Georgia Municipal Association and the National League of Cities. And that is for two good reasons. Anything that happens at the state legislature, GMA can tell you about it. Anything that's happening on the national level, the National League of Cities ought to be able to tell you the same. Both organizations offer seminars, workshops, and conferences. The city of East Point will pay all expenses for any elected official to attend or participate in any of those activities. And that is it. You don't elected officials don't get to put in their budgets money for anything that does not involve education, training, and travel. The travel means the city picks up that expense. It does not mean that you can get in your car, go downtown, register a hotel room in one of Atlanta's hotels, and put it on your credit card. No, 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 no. Got to cut that out. It also does not mean that you can go and start a private little club, a group in your ward and provide catered lunches, catered buffets, for any workshop you may have. Nor does it mean that you can go and rent a room and have an event there because you have this little private club called the Leadership Group in Ward B. That's not to be paid by the city. No, that's not it. Because what job performance? If you want to do things with the residents, that's great. And there is an ordinance that we passed when the late Mayor Joe Macon was alive. It stated that $2,500 would be given to the mayor and each council members to meet with their constituents, to communicate with their constituents using consumable goods, meaning flyers, newsletters, robocalls, or a town hall meeting when that to discuss what policies that you need to know about as residents are being discussed. What issues in the city that's going to affect you, the taxes, your utilities, any changes in any policy. You should be aware of it before the council vote to pass it. So we have all these different budgets here and all around here. How many of you, if any, and I know you haven't, received a single call from the mayor or a council member telling you the date the time and what the meeting is about concerning the budget. When there are so many questions and problems about trying to adopt a budget past the first deadline of June 30th. What is the problem? What is wrong? So every time there is a special call meeting, residents, one of those nine should send out a robocall to let you know. Now, I took it upon myself to ask one of the companies that do robocalls, the one that the city used to call to let you know when during COVID, where you could go for community services, food from the food bank. Anything else that came up, you were given a call. Now, for $1,000, which is the cheapest by far, with a company that has the most names and communication means of reaching the residents of East Point. Now, we need to ask this mayor and these council members, what are you doing with that $2,500? I have not received a single flyer from you. I have not received a single newsletter from you. And if there was a town hall meeting, what issue that was talked about, and I don't mean where employees from the fire department, the police department, or any of the other departments come in and talk about what is going on. That's not what that money is for. It is for policy issues. It is for concerns and all that arise in the community that mean maybe a new policy written, or one amended or appealed, or a discussion on what is really going on at City Hall when it comes to getting information. Right now, you cannot get a printed copy if you have made an open records request. You'll be told that the ink cartridges are something. Lies. We have two printers. Why? Have we not paid the bill? Did we have the money that was needed to pay? That's why Comcast dropped our telephone services. And we now have telephone services with all kinds of different numbers that when you dial the area code, the three digits after that, you have no idea whether you're talking to the city of East trying to connect with a representative from the city of East Point or what. It is ridiculous. Why is it that the city of East Point is not paying its bill on time or late to the point that we're losing them? That's a budget issue. That's something the council needs to address. Now let's talk about this $2,500. That amount. Oh, first let's go back to the education, training, and travel. Honestly, $10,000 for any education, training, and travel to any workshop, seminar, or conference by GMA or the National League of Cities is more than enough for a council member for an annual budget. I should know. It is more than enough. So, what do we do about insurance that you see on the budget for council members? Well, the state says every elected official has the rights as all of the employees in the city of East Point have. So if the city offers health care to employees, elected officials has to be used in that pool. It does not say that the city of East Point has to pay the employee portion for any council member. The council member, if he or she wants city insurance, has to pay that employee portion just like any other employee. So we'll be watching to see who's getting benefits for that and should not. Your salary has been increased uh, in the not this last election cycle, but the one before that. Pension benefits were increased, and that were done with 6 of the same council members we have up there now that we didn't have before. No, 5, because Council Member Mitchell was not on there when they made those policy changes for the pension and the salaries. All right, East Point residents, let's get down to business. What is this budget going to do for you? Will it add to the cost of services that's provided or supposed to be provided? Will any service or taxes be increased? Will there be any amenities afforded that do not exist now but should exist? Just what is in this budget, present budget, and the new upcoming fiscal year 27 proposed budget. In order to determine whether or not a budget represents your vision, the city vision, it's a good budget. You have to start with your revenues. And that is a main problem here in East Point. What are our revenue sources? How can you be certain that what you've been told as revenue services are indeed revenue services? Well, the city is supposed to file an audit by December the 31st for the previous fiscal year that ended on June 30th. If for some reason an extension is needed, the city can write an appeal and ask for one. I don't know what happened, but I do know that the city of East Point is missing the audit for fiscal year 23, 24, 25, 26. Now, 23 is supposed to be completed. 24 is supposed to be completed by the end of this month. I haven't heard about 25 or 26. The city is said to be 3.5 years behind. Now that's coming from the city, but you can check on the state website to see what years the city is behind in audits. But everyone do not have access to a computer or Wi-Fi to do that. We're dependent on the city to come out and tell us the truth. Why? Because if the city audits are not up to date and sent in on time, we don't know how our money is being spent and what needs to be corrected in the process of receiving money and spending money by our financial department. Because that is the article is going to talk about your revenue and how it is being expended. And what is needed in place to make the reporting and transparency of that information better. Well, number one, East Point can go and hire all the outside auditors, out of town auditors that are said to be friends of the city manager. No, I haven't heard of any bid process that was done. I haven't heard of the council sitting down and reviewing the bids that were placed, or even interviewing anyone that bid it to make sure this is what this is the group you want to what you want done for the audit years in which the audit was not completed and sent in. Well, the main reason why we're having problems from the city in providing the information that's needed regardless of the auditing firm. They have to have information. Here in East Point, we have a 4-day work week interim city, finance director. 4-day work week interim finance director. Not a full-time permanent hired finance director, a 4-day work week one. Then we have no budget analyst. And we do not have an internal auditor. Our policies and processes in every management letter prior to this last council uh, coming in 4 years ago or maybe longer with that group have not done that. Your management letter tells you of your weaknesses and your strengths. It tells you whether or not you're in deficit spending, or you are even, or you have a reserve. Each point went from a 27 talked about deficit. I don't know where we are now. Latest I heard was 11 million. And that was not given to the mayor and council from the city manager for them to deal with. It was the street committee. That is how information is gotten out to the public, to the residents of this city. Street committee. Because council members are not answering their phones. They're not answering emails. They're not having this discussion themselves at quote town hall meetings. But to their credit, they are stepping up and having special call meetings in which they are discussing items in the budget that need to be changed, provided 5 council members agree. The only problem with that is a spreadsheet with all this information stating where to transfer money from. Didn't see many cuts in there. Did not see the following. That spreadsheet that the council voted to send over to voted directing the city manager to reconcile the currently proposed FY 27 budget with what was stated and printed in the worksheet that council voted that he include and provide an updated fiscal year 27 budget. Now, if you believe and you feel that the following items were important enough to be in the budget and are not in the budget, then you need to let mayor and council members know now. Now let's go through, these are just some of them. That budget on the spreadsheet, do's and don'ts, does not include defunding employees' positions and salaries that were not voted on or created by mayor and council, which is a violation. Then another violation. Those positions were never posted for anyone here in the city to bid on or to come up and apply for. These people came from outside of the city. That's another violation. What about defunding the quote city attorney's salary? The current person calling herself the city attorney is not the city attorney legally for the city of East Point. She has no agreement. She has no contract because our ordinance, the ethics ordinance, is clear that the East Point city attorney and assistant city attorney cannot have paid clients elsewhere. It just so happens that this city attorney that we are paying $25,000 a month, $5,000 for planning and zoning meetings, $20,000 quote for working for the city of East Point, because she is also the city attorney for 3 other cities. She is not here in the city of East Point from 8 to 5 as she should be and is needed to be to provide legal advice from any from mayor, any council member, the city manager, or any employee in the city. Our city attorney, does not litigate or go to superior court and stand before the judge to talk about any case. We hire firms and all to answer suits when they are filed against the city. So what is this city attorney doing? She doesn't have to go to the court. Municipal court, when have you ever heard of the city attorney or anyone to know that the city attorney was over there? So what is she doing? And whatever she is done surely does not warrant $300,000 a year, the highest paid, quote, employee in the history of the city of East Point, and currently the highest paid in the city, making more than the $203,000 salary for the city manager. There's something very wrong with that budget that has items like that in it that have not been taken care of in the updated proposed budget. The next thing we have, mayor and council. They are supposed to hire an external auditor who comes in and works with the internal auditor so that the audit report that is sent into the state in December is as correct as it can possibly be based on the information provided by the internal auditor and looked through by the external auditor. Neither position is filled. Another means of income for the city. Well, we do have the historical house sitting on prime real estate, hosting the East Point Historical Society nonprofit group that pays absolutely no rent, does not provide for maintenance or utilities. They're given welfare illegally by the city. There is no agreement between the city and the Historical Society. You know why? The city of East Point cannot collect rent. We're not in the real estate business. That is why the state allowed cities to create authorities to oversee certain activities which required the payment of rent or the payment of tickets in order to pay for itself. That is not the case at all. And the services, must I say, the lack of services provided by the East Point Historical Society is not even worth discussing. We have been told by the city judge that we have to have a courthouse here in East Point if we're going to continue with the jail services that we have, the municipal court that we have. A courthouse is needed. Well, BIDA, the Building Industrial Authority Board, need to be given a memo, a statement of memorandum to go out, send out a bid for any developer to explore for building a courthouse on the site where that so-called historical house is now sitting. And that house is not historical at all. That site removed the historical house, built a city court, a courthouse. Or they want to look at the old city hall. Now, when you go in there talking about renovating that old city hall, when I was mayor, we had to move out because of the asbestos problem. There's a problem with underground moisture. There is no handicap accessibility for the stairs up on the third floor. And you're hard pressed to say that City Hall is a historical city hall. Just because something is old does not make it historical. And it sits in front of our city auditorium that needs to have a completion to the renovations that the city has been collecting money on from the hotel motel tax since 2012 in a reserve account, $600,000 a year. Now, 2012 to 2027. How many years is that? At $600,000 a year. You mean to say you don't have enough money to go in there and renovate the auditorium for use? The roof has already been replaced. So what is the problem? That completion needs to be done and done this year. That renovation should be completed and done this year. The money for it is in our capital budget, and that should be done. And we have a program in Parks and Rec called the STEM program. Well, the State Board of Education, nor Fulton County Board of Education, neither one of those have accredited East Point Parks and Recreation Center to host any kind of STEM program as if the city is offering it through Parks and Recreation. The fact of the matter is, a group out of Riverdale, last I checked, a private organization, is using Jefferson Park, a recreation center space, to host this program that they charge parents for the children to attend. And East Point provides transportation for after school pickup to bring the children there. As I previously stated, East Point city government cannot collect rent. So are we now giving free space to a private organization to charge residents here in the city for their children to attend after school, and using city services, gas, vehicle, and driver for free after school pickup to transfer those children over to Jefferson Park Recreation Center to be in a STEM program that's in every school probably in the United States by now. That needs to cease. That needs to cease. We cannot be a welfare city for certain organizations, STEM, East Point Historical Society members, when we can't keep the lights on in Ward C whenever the wind blows, and it's not a accident. We don't have sidewalks, even though we have SPLOST money, money that we pay in taxes throughout South Fulton County that is given back to the city through the state, which is another reason why we ought to be sure our audits are in on time and in place. Because if the state says your financial situation is such that you've lost your bond rating and you're unstable, therefore, we are not going to allow you to collect money through the insurance tax collection from the state that the state gives to East Point, over $11 million a year. Grants that the federal government may give to a state that will allow them to pass it on to the local government will be halted. And that brings to mind another revenue source. The city of East Point has been given $500,000 in the CHIP program for seniors. We need to check that out, because seniors are not the only ones who are having problems with mortgages and rent. Most seniors should have their house paid for if they've been in that 25, 30 years. If they made an equity loan, second mortgage or first mortgage, then that is something else with them. Money should be based on it, from that CHIP program, should be based on income. And that will capture those seniors who really need it. Because all seniors, just because you are a senior and no longer working, does not mean that you are all on the same income level. If you had a low paying job that you paid into Social Security, then your pension from Social Security is going to be low. On the other hand, if you had a job where the pay was a lot higher and you are in this Social Security pension plan, your monthly pension, excuse me, is going to be higher. And those that had pensions outside of Social Security, state pensions, school system pensions, those are higher because the wages paid were higher. So let's look at that and come up with a plan. East Point does not need to try to do this in-house. We don't have $50,000, 50,000 people in East Point. Our population has not gotten to that. Therefore, the federal government guideline says the county has to expand any grant services for seniors in East Point through Community Development Building Grant, CDBG. That had to be done through Fulton County government. Well, after City of South Fulton was created, and these other cities were created throughout Fulton County, the county ceased to function with the CDBG as it had previously. I suggest that the city of East Point meet in their South Fulton Municipal Association group and come to some agreement to go to the county for the reestablishment of the CDBG. College Park does not have 50,000 residents. Neither do Hateville, Palmetto, Fairburn, or Chattahoochee Hills, and East Point. That's 6 cities in South Fulton County who do not have that population. But we are enough together to cover the administrative costs of Fulton County housing a program that was set up at like the CDBG, Community Development Building Grant. Because all of us will lose money from those grants trying to pay employees administrative costs and benefits. That means less money to go to the people for whom the grant was given. So that is something that our commissioners that represent us need to work with mayor and the different and South Fulton Municipal Association members. City of South Fulton does not need it. They have over 100,000 people. And Atlanta does not is a state unto itself in Fulton County. But those cities that do not have populations of $50,000 need to go to the county and convince the county board of commissioners they need to reinstitute that administrative position that would be covered by the 6 cities that use it, so that any grant money that's given to either one of those cities, the administration of it would be done through Fulton County. Set up the same way. The administrative costs would be paid on a pro rata basis, from the largest down to the smallest group. That can be worked out. We need vision in this city. We need action in this city. We need council members and a mayor who understand that governing is a process based on laws, based on bridging the gap between what we want as residents in this city or in any local municipality and how we get it done legally. Now, let's talk about some of these services we have here in East Point. The city of East Point need to get rid of all events in the budget. These events were placed over, quote, under the manager so that no council member has to be personally identified with the cost and what it was done because of the displeasure that would arise among residents in the city. So they cop out. They were cowards. Every event that was in the city was done with the full knowledge and weight of the council to do it or not to do it. Not one time was there a single vote on the city of East Point Council to not pay for any Wind Down Wednesday event, any Juneteenth event, any of the event that was associated with the World Cup, or any of those other events. It is not the job of the taxpayers of East Point to entertain and pay entertainers with that due process of opening it up for bid for whoever else, whatever. Because number one, it comes down to the fact the city can't sell tickets to pay for the cost. Therefore, you're taking taxpayer money. You're taking money that could go to help the residents in this city with the completion of the renovation of the auditorium if anything else in there is needed. You're taking money from residents of this city to have a recreation center that was not given to us and is older than I am. Taxpayers' money should be going to make our parks livable and enjoyable with diversity of age, ability, and likes or dislikes. That's not happening. What did happen was down on Welcome Road where the soccer park is. That's not East Point Soccer Park. That's the soccer park. Georgia Soccer Park. Well, the city gave them $800,000 to put in restroom, office, construct office, and all. The soccer park, who in turn gave the city a 10-year lease to create a park on so many acres of land within 10 years. Supposedly, the city is going to build a recreational center there. It's supposed to be with the pool. Well, the bid went out. The company that made, quote, the best bid was for $33 million. Well, lo and behold, this company comes back and said, wait a minute, change order. We needed an additional $11 million. Who has ever heard of doing business with any group that has a change order that is 1/3 of the proposed original cost? And no fanfare, no question. We need to give them $11 million more. No pool, but they need $11 million more. We deserve better. We deserve what we have because we did not go out there to get anything better. There was no encouragement from residents in the community who have shown that they love and care about the city, that they are engaged in some way to make life better in the city. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go through the list of how incompetent individually each council member on that council is, although there are only two up there that bring motions to the floor and show any kind of knowledge of the process and willing to move forward. And that's Council Member Martin Rogers and Andrea Caldwell. The rest of them up there are background noise. A lot of noise about what we're going to do and what we'll do. And the first one to include on the spreadsheet, Ward A grant $5,000. What work is Ward A going to do for the city for $5,000? There has not even been a robocall made by any council member. The mayor and 5 at-large council members and Ward A local represent Ward A. There's 6 council members. Not a single one has called or made a robocall requesting a meeting with Ward A residents to see what would you do if you had $5,000, which, by the way, you can't exclude Ward C, B, C, and D because you're using taxpayer money. Another way of campaigning on the taxpayers' dime by making residents, a select little group, think that they're doing something that they are not, and you've taken photographs, putting them on Facebook for something that the city paid for. It is sickening, and it has to stop. Taxpayers' money must not, should not, and needs to cease being anywhere in a budget, off the budget, and still being spent to promote any current or future council member while sitting at a council meeting campaigning on the taxpayers' dime. It is ridiculous, and it is illegal and unlawful. It is time to start bringing criminal charges against some members on our council. Now, College Park, the city of College Park had the right idea. They became fed up with how some council members were using that city credit card, P card, any way they wanted to, misusing funds. So what did they do? They did not go to court and file a lawsuit against them in their official capacity. What they did beautifully was to file charges against them as individuals. So the taxpayers in College Park would not have to pay their attorney fees. Why should we pay for a lawyer for those who have done wrong while we pay for a lawyer to correct what they have done and not get anything out of it? You can tell I'm not my best today. Maybe some of you would say, well, she's never at her best. But baby, I'm here to tell you, I can and will do better. But I have been under the weather. Not that my appearance says so. My stamina says so. So you know the Queen has spoken. We will continue. Let's talk about these services in the budget. Water. Will there be an increase in our water bill? They haven't said anything about that. However, 99% of East Point residents' utility bills, there is a service fee of $1.60 for participation in the water leak program. That's a brilliant idea. I mean, brilliant, but a scam that could be turned into a successful program. It is a scam for the simple reason why would East Point, owning its own water, pay an insurance company to to pay the money off for the amount of water that was leaked? All right. Said Miss Jones had a water leak at her house. The leak came to 18,000 gallons of water. That came out to $3,000. Well, instead of the city saying, okay, the water went in the ground, that was our water. This $3,000, we are going to take it out of the fund where we have been collecting $1.60 for water leak protection, because you don't have enough residential water leaks in the city that you are going to lose 1 cent by paying for those water leaks that do occur out of that money. What is happening is the city is collecting money under the guise of paying an insurance company to repay the city for the water from money that the Senate sent to them after two reserve cycles for the city. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. So now, let's get back to um, what is happening. That money that is being paid, that is being collected, is not being paid. The city does not have an agreement or a contract with the insurance company. They have a quote. Since when do we start doing business by quote? Since when? That money should be, and it was a brilliant idea, but residents should make the decision whether or not to pay $1.60 to be covered if they were to have a water leak. And that money will go into a special account. Then that month, in water leaks that occurred, they're paid for. The money that's over that can then be used to help residents in this city, regardless of age, but use income and age and our income to help our residents. Trees need to be trimmed. Trees need to be cut. Homes need roofs, gutters, flooring, plumbing, heat, air conditioning, windows, doors. Those are the things that was provided for by the CDBG grant that Fulton County was responsible for administering it. Well, a certain percent of the money that of that $1.60 that is collected by the city, and it is not going to any insurance company. It is collected by the city, and the way it is going in the city, that story has yet to be told. That money can go into that. That would be a steady stream that would go down to Fulton County for East Point residents. Not the other 5 cities, but those in East Point would be go down and go through the process that was went through when we were talking about the CDBG. We need to know where our money is going when it comes in. And we need to know what kind of agreements and contracts we are engaged in. Because right now we don't. Every resident in this city has been paying into a $5 million minimum reserve account for the electric utility since 2012 to 2013. That PCA and that ECCR that you pay on your utility bill, ECG was asked by the city manager to come up with a means of earning a reserve of $5 million a year minimum. And that is how that PCA and that ECCR ended up on your account. Yes, it increased your utility bill. And it's been on there since 2013. And now the city has the nerve to want to increase that. However, electric cities of Georgia, that's ECG, the ones that we hire in order to help us when we have development to lay out the electrical grid and do the underpinnings and all of that. Told the city manager that meeting should take place after the budget has passed to see just what it is that is needed and why there is a need for the residents to increase, to have to pay more for electricity. Because ECG knows that East Point is already collecting a 500 thing. Now, 5 million dollars reserve. We've had some few problems with our media today and getting and getting this podcast together. So at this point in time, I'm going to sign out. Wish you all a great day. Get all the information you can about the budget and have a good evening. I will be sending a link for any of you who missed this great education here on the budget, the link onto it, who are members of my e-blast. Thank you and have a great evening. God bless. It's got to turn it off. We lost contact. She lost connection. Okay. Let me see. Come on. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, Jermaine, you listening to my podcast? Well, I'm blessed. Well, I'm blessed. No,
That's what I was talking about call you about. I'm just double checking now. So I'm trying to call my sister call me then. So we got 5 people. It's only 3 people to call the meeting, but Aquarius, Derek, Kerry, Ray, Sean,
wait, okay, hold 1 second. I'll call you right back. This is the end of my podcast. I'll call you right back.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye. Hello? Penny? Honey?
Sign out of your podcast. I can't do it. I lost connection.
Okay, well, I did. I signed out. Stacy brought me the notice up here.
Okay, I'm saying because I can't end.
Oh,
You gotta end them all.
oh, I ended.
No, you didn't. Well, all we
Oh.
did was turn off the computer. You still on.
Oh, okay. 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 Well, so
Yeah, yeah, don't talk. Don't talk.
she said she needs you to log into Zoom.
Is it out, Miss Penny? Be careful, Mom.
Okay, doing that. Okay. You picked up on the mic.
Oh, it was.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, she's still with me. Miss Penny, are you there? Okay, is she logged off yet?
You still on?
Okay. Right. Yes, ma'am. I'm with you. She turned off the computer. I'm logging back in. Understood. Okay. Right. I got you. Hey, we can all hear you. Yes. Yes. Okay, I'm trying to log back in to I'm not even in the Zoom anymore. Okay, I just got back in.